And welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu sok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Thank you. So, we could also say that our religion is about trying to create a vision, a positive vision for humanity. And Lauren, I was thinking about the very good point you made where it talked about, who takes care of the orphan and the widow, etc. And you pointed out, of course, that there's tragically, thousands of orphans and widows who are suffering and who are neglected, etc. I can't argue with that. And of course, I didn't yesterday. And I said, there are a couple of ways in which we can take it. There was one other way in which I believe it is, although it might be considered a stretch. I don't think it is. And I think that's in terms of an afterlife. And the fact that that's also, I think, a very strong piece here is recognizing how brief our life is here. And I love the rabbinic position that sees this world, that we should look at this world as an antechamber, as a place to get prepared. And it says it quite explicitly in Pirkei Avot, where it says, prepare yourself, in the antechamber so that you may enter the banquet hall. But life really is so brief, at any rate. Going on with Moses' own words, which are just, I find, inspiring. Et Hashem Elokecha tira, right? Fear the Lord your God. Otot ta'avod, serve him, you shall serve him. Uvo tidbak, cling to him. Uvishmo tishaveu, and swear by his name. And Rashi puts a beautiful interpretation to this, which I think is in fact the pshat, right? Et Hashem Elohecha tira, the Lord your God fear. V'ta'avod lo, and serve him. V'tidbak bo, and cling to him. V'lachar sheyu b'cha chol hamidot ha'elalu, and once you have these qualities, right, of being God-fearing, of serving God, of cleaving to God, as bishmo tishva. At that point, you can swear by his name. You need to earn the place where you may, in fact, invoke God's name to back you up in your word, to back your word. Hu tehilatcha, he is your glory. Hu Elohecha, he is your Lord, your God. I know we translate Elohim as God, but truly I've come to understand this term Elohim as referring to when we say or declare that God is the Elohim, we are talking about God being our Lord, actually, that we are willing to accept God as the ultimate master, power, and controller of our lives. That's the connotation of Elohim, as opposed to Adonai, which has the connotation of grand creator of all existence. So those two elements, Asher Asa Itcha, so he is your glory and he is your Elohim. Asher Asa Itcha, who performed for you et hagdolah, these great works, ve'et hanoraot ha'ele, so ha'ele is these, right, and these awesome deeds. Asher ra'u enecha, which your own eyes witnessed, which your eyes saw. B'shivim nefesh, with 70 souls, Yardu avotecha mitzrayma, your ancestors came down to Egypt. Va'ata, but now, Samcha Hashem Elokecha, the Lord your God has placed you, kechochve hashamayim la'orov, like the stars of the heavens in multitude. New chapter. Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, and you shall love the Lord your God. And of course, I think those words, which of course, trip off the tongue so easily because we've learned them so early on, really require some deep meditation, to what degree our lives reflect a love of God. And what does it mean to love God? But I also feel that the love of God involves wanting to perform, especially the positive commandments, and the fear of God is the desire to perform the negative commandments. But to love God is to take positive steps to perform God's commandments. Vishamarta mishmarto, and you shall guard his watch, right? Mishmar is a watch, or his charge is the way Sefaria translates it. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's referring to the negative commandments, right? The things that we have to be careful of. V'chukotav, his edicts, u'mishpatav, his statutes, u'mitzvotav, and his commandments, kol hayamim, throughout the days. In other words, always, throughout our lives, I believe is what it's referring to. Bidatem hayom, and know today, know this day, ki lo et benechem, that it was not with your children, asher lo yadu, who have never experienced, asher lo ra'u, and who never saw it musar Hashem Elokechem, the discipline of the Lord your God. Et godlo, his greatness. Et yado hachazaka, his powerful arm, his powerful hand. Right? In other words, again, the degree to which God has exercised control. Uzro'o hanetuya, and his outstretched arm. Again, all referring to ways in which God, throughout, as we learn from the experience of the Israelites in their redemption from slavery in Egypt and their wanderings in the wilderness, to what degree they have actually witnessed God's power. Rashi.
Excuse me, Rabbi. Golda
Yes.
wants to know what the link is, and I just use numbers. If I give her those numbers, would that help?
Not necessarily. Let me pause. Okay, I'm gonna pause. Let me pause I'm gonna stop
Yeah, her computer's not working, so she has to go on something else.
I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay. Okay. So we are in the Rashi of this verse 2. V'yeradem hayom, right? You shall understand today. You know this day, or your experience today. Tnu lev. I love this expression. It means pay attention. But the Hebrew translated directly is give heart. And give heart is the Hebrew expression for attention. Pay attention. Ladat, to know, ulahavin, and to understand, ulukabel tochachto, and to accept God's correction, God's reproof. Ki lo et benechem ani medaber achshav. So Rashi does this from time to time, where he simply continues. This is, of course, this is the verse being quoted, right? The part of the verse being quoted, but it's as if there's no period here, and he just runs on with the sentence, and this is his interpretation here. But it's as if it's just that interpretation is just the way he's interpreting these words, right? So, for not with your children, ani medaber achshav, do I speak now? Sheyuchlu, who would be able to, lomar, to say, okay, anu lo yadanu, we never experienced, we never, velo ra'inu, and we never saw, bechol any of this. In other words, so of course, Moses is trying to tighten the reason for the Jewish people to accept God's sovereignty. And I would like to say that in accepting that sovereignty, it is an example of what the world might be like were the world's population willing to accept divine sovereignty. And of course, I do feel that there are great religions out there that are attempting to do the same thing. but we're a far cry from getting closer to it, it seems. But we'll have to see. Ve'et ototav, his signs, ve'et ma'asav, and his works, asher asa betoch Mitzrayim, which he performed in the midst of Egypt, leFaro, to Pharaoh, melech Mitzrayim, the king of Egypt, ulecho arzo, and to his entire land. Asher asa lechel Mitzrayim, and which he did to the army, the Egyptian army, lesusav, to his horses, ulerichbo, and to his chariots, asher heitzif et mei hayam, in that he inundated the waters of Yam Suf, of the Red Sea, al pnehem, upon them, berodfam acharechem, when they were pursuing you. Vayabdem Hashem, and God destroyed them ad hayom hazeh, to this day, literally, meaning permanently. They were never bothered again by them. V'asher asalachem. In other words, all these different things that were clearly demonstrations of God's care and love of them. V'asher asalachem b'midbar, and what he did for you in the wilderness. Ad bo'achem ad hamakom hazeh, up until you arrived at this place. Va'asher asa ladatan ulaviram, and that which he did to Datan and Aviran, bnei Eliav, the sons of Eliav, ben Reuven, the son of Reuven. Asher patzta haaretz et piha, in that the earth opened up its mouth, vativlaem, and swallowed them up, et batehem, their homes, the oholehem, and their tents, and their batim could be, their families. It could be, right. It literally means their houses. Ve'et kol hayakum, and all their substance or their property, asher beraglehem, which was at their feet, meaning I think here at their disposal. Bekerev kol Yisrael, in the midst of all Israel. Rashi, Bekerev kol Yisrael, in the midst of all of Israel. Kol makom shahaya echad mehem boreach, every single place where one of them would flee. Haaretz nivkat mitachtav, the earth would split underneath them. Uvulato, and swallow him. Elu divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Amar le Rabbi Nehemiah, said Rabbi Nehemiah to Rabbi Yehuda. V'halo kfar ne'erma, but doesn't it say in Numbers chapter 16, V'tiftach haaretz et piha, that the earth opened up its mouth, v'lo pioteha. It doesn't say it opened up its mouths, it just said it opens up its mouth. Amar le, so he said to him, Uma ani mekayem bekerev kol Yisrael. So he responded to him by saying that, as Rabbi Yehuda said to him, well, then how do I count for saying in the midst of all of Israel? Right? Which sounds, of course, like it was wherever they were. Amarle, so Rabbi Nehemiah said to him, Shin eset haaretz madron, what happened was the earth underneath this person's legs became a slope. It sloped down kamashpech, like a funnel. Bechol makom shaya echad mehem, and in every place where one of them happened to be, hayam mitgalgel, he would roll down uva ad makom habekia, and get to the point where the split was. So I was thinking about this, whether is there something more that's being said here in terms of this disagreement of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nehemiah? Is there some greater point which is escaping me other than an interesting description of how this miracle took place? So I don't know. I guess one possibility. I'm just thinking on my feet, as it were, is that, of course, in the case of a hole opening up every single different place, right? Then they would drop in. That was it. On the other hand, as a slope where they'd all come together, uh, is this, that would take a little longer? Would it mean they had an opportunity for tshuva before they were consumed? The other thing is, to what degree they were all together in this, and what that implies. Just some random thoughts about trying to get more out of this relatively long Rashi. Vet kol hayakum asher beragleihem, meaning all the substance at their feet. Ze mamono shel adam. So Rashi is quoting rabbinic, of course, the rabbinic sources, which say this is a person's money, shemami do al rakav, which sets him up on his feet, which gives him some stability. That having enough uh, money, having enough income, etc., of course, allows you to have a certain stability to your life, and that's why they refer to yakum. Point he's making is that this term yakum and kam means to stand up, right? So in other words, it gives a person some standing. That's why it's called yakum, referring to money. Ki einechem, but your eyes haroot, which have seen with et kol maaseh Hashem hagadol, all the acts of the great God, right? Asher asa, which he performed. So this, of course, Rashi's telling us, ki einechem haraot, but it's your eyes, your own eyes, who've seen. Musav hal mikra ha'amur. Imagine it's probably lamala, right? That is stated above. In other words, but this sentence is actually a run-on, right? Let's make sure. Yeah, this is actually a run-on for the line that says here. It's way up over here. Yeah, this line here up. I think it's verse 2. Let's see what Rashi says. Musav halamikra amur lamala. It's referring to the verse above. Ki lo et benechem, because that where he says it's not your children asher lo yadu, who never experienced and never saw, but it was your eyes, etc. Ki imchem asher, but asher enechem haroot, right? But with you, that God is asking this of you, which in that your eyes have seen and witnessed all these acts on the part of God. Let's go on here. Ushmartim et kol mitzvah, you shall guard all the commandments. It's literally actually the commandment, the entire commandment, but I believe it's encompassing the whole Torah. Asher anochi mitzavcha hayom, which I command you today, lema'an techesku, so that you become strong, uvatem, and you come, verishtem et haaretz, and inherit the land, asher atem ovrim shama l'shta, which you are passing over to inherit. I think that is, let's see, okay. Atem leman ta'arichu yamim, in order that you prolong your days ala adama, on the earth, asher nishba Hashem lavotechem, which the Lord swore to your ancestors, latet lahem ulazaram, to give to them and their offspring, eretz savat chalav udvash, a land flowing with milk and honey. And I'm going to stop the text and open it up to any comments, any thoughts that you have. So, and we'll mark the place here. And I'll stop the share. All right. Comments. Mitchell, good to see you. You guys can come off mute if you like. Golda, any thoughts?
All right, go ahead.
Hi, how are you, Rabbi?
Good,
Hi.
good.
All right. I don't understand the what the my I must have I came in late, so she talked about in the midst, and there was a bachlokus about in the midst, uh, something about something about rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't
Right.
understand.
Well, the issue is in talking about Datan and Aviram, right, who were parts of the rebellion. They participated in the rebellion of Korach.
Korach, yeah.
Yes, okay, and it's talks. They're the ones regarding whom it says the earth opened up its mouth and swallowed them.
Uh-huh.
So one rabbi believed that, like they were running all over the place, that wherever that person was running, okay, it could have been anywhere around, that every single person who was trying to avoid it and run away, the earth opened up beneath them and swallowed them there.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Rabbi Nehemiah disagreed with Rabbi Judah. That was Rabbi Judah's opinion. Rabbi
oh,
Nehemiah said, no, that's not what happened. He says what happened was that where that person was, there'd be a slope, and the person would roll down the slope to this one point where there was the hole where they were swallowed. And
wow.
I was trying to muse on what is the bigger point being made here, So. Right. I mean, clearly, the one point is that you can't run away from the consequences of your bad behavior, right? You're going to have
Ah,
to face it at some point or another, right? And
very
again, I'm
good.
trying to meditate about this. Was
Yeah.
the one saying it happened right away? Is the other one saying, well, they rolled to it. It didn't happen instantly in that sense, that the earth didn't swallow them instantly. There's
Uh-huh.
the
Interesting. Wow.
there's things to
It
think.
totally explains sinkholes.
Ah, we
Yeah,
better start getting worried, right?
right.
Yes.
Huh.
So
Huh.
okay.
So it's amazing. It's, I mean, yeah. So Korach, but Korach actually did the truth did some interesting because I think he did teshuva as he was being swallowed. And he did teshuva. So that if he did
Torah,
teshuva,
Torah,
he may have been rolling down the hill, so we had a chance to do teshuva because if it swallowed him right away, wouldn't he have any chance?
Mitchell.
Yes.
So number one, I don't know where you might have read that, but Korach would have been burnt. Remember, they offered up this incense, and all these people got burnt. So,
Yes.
so my sense is that Korach was not amongst. It was the Datan and Aviram and their families, and that where they faced the earth opening up. Korach and
Oh.
followers were a different fate, awaited.
Oh.
That's number one. Number two, I'm not sure about Korach doing any tshuva prior to his being burnt. However, since there are many psalms that start off, or a number of psalms
Bnei Korach.
off with from the sons of Korach, it's
Yeah.
clear that his sons did not participate in his rebellion.
Huh. Wow.
So that may be why you were under the impression that he did tshuva. But
Ah.
I'm not aware that Korach
Ah.
did tshuva.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Very
I
good.
am aware that his sons never even participated.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, you
Yeah.
bet. My pleasure. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording here.